She left me for my brother, but my brother left her for my best friend. That's my story in one messy sentence. But let me take you back to where it all started. I guess if you'd met us back then, you'd say we were the kind of couple people envied. Emily and I had been married for 7 years, living in a cozy little house on a tree-lined street just outside of Chicago. The kind of place where the neighbors wave at you and kids ride their bikes down the sidewalks. We had a stone fireplace that we used on chilly autumn nights, an open kitchen with a bar where Emily liked to sit and sip wine while I cooked, and a bedroom with a giant window that overlooked the backyard, where we dreamed about one day putting up a swing set. Emily, she was the kind of woman who turned heads without even trying. 33, always impeccably dressed, her hair falling in soft waves around her face, bright eyes that sparkled when she talked about her next big marketing campaign. She had this energy about her, like she was always chasing the next adventure, and I was just lucky to be along for the ride. And then there was me, Wade, 35, software developer, the guy behind the screen while Emily was out dazzling clients. I wasn't anything special to look at. Average build, wore glasses that I convinced myself made me look intellectual, not just nearsighted. I kept in shape enough to not embarrass myself at the annual company picnic tug of war. I liked routines. Friday night dinners with Emily, pasta, her favorite Pinot Noir, Saturday mornings at the farmer's market, summer weekends at the lake, just the two of us and the sound of the water. For a long time, I thought that was enough. I thought we were enough, but then the little cracks started to show. At first, it was the late nights. "Work's crazy," she'd say, dropping her bag by the door and kissing me on the cheek. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? Emily was ambitious, driven. It wasn't unusual for her to pour herself into a project. But the late nights turned into weekends. The text replies got shorter. The smiles faded. She stopped wrapping her arms around me in the morning. That was the thing that hit me the hardest. I'd wake up, instinctively reaching for her, and find nothing but cold sheets. When I'd ask, she'd brush it off. "Just tired," she'd mumble, already checking her phone, the screen lighting up her face in the dim room. And the phone? God, the phone. She started guarding it like it was the launch codes to a nuclear bomb. If I so much as glanced at it, she'd pull it away, laugh nervously, change the subject. Our home, once filled with quiet comfort, felt heavier. The fireplace we'd cuddle by gathered dust. The bar where she'd sip wine became just another place to drop keys and mail. Even our bed, our sanctuary, felt like unfamiliar territory. I tried to shake it off. Maybe it was stress. Maybe we'd hit a rough patch. Every couple does, right? I wanted to believe that. That's when I started leaning on Mark more. Mark had been my best friend since college. Solid, loyal, the guy you'd want in your corner during a bar fight or a bad breakup. Mark was a doctor, worked crazy hours, but always made time when I called. That night, I needed him. We met at O'Malley's, the dive bar we used to haunt in our 20s. It hadn't changed. Same sticky floors, same jukebox that always seemed to be playing Tom Petty. Mark took one look at me and ordered 2 beers. "You look like you found out Santa isn't real," he said, sliding one across the table. I managed a weak smile. "Feels worse." So I told him, not everything, not yet, just enough, that Emily was distant, that I felt like I was losing her and I didn't know why. Mark listened, the way he always did. He didn't offer cliches or empty reassurances. He just sat there, nodding, letting me get it out. When I finished, he clapped a hand on my shoulder. "You're a good guy, Wade. Maybe she's just going through something. Give it time." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that this was just a phase, that the woman I loved would come back to me. But deep down, I think a part of me already knew. The perfect life I thought we had, it was just a perfect lie. If you've ever had one of those moments when your whole world tilts sideways, when something so ordinary becomes the scene of your greatest heartbreak, you'll understand what happened to me that Saturday afternoon. I wasn't supposed to be at the mall. I hated malls. But Mark's birthday was coming up, and I wanted to get him something decent, not just another gift card or bottle of whiskey. So there I was, wandering through the shiny corridors of Westview Mall, feeling out of place among the crowds of teenagers and stroller-pushing parents. I'd just come out of a store, empty-handed, when I saw them. At first, my brain didn't register it. You know how it is. You see familiar faces in unexpected places and it takes a second to click. But then it did. Emily and Jason. They were walking together down the other side of the mall, close. Too close. Her hand slipped into his, fingers intertwining the way she used to do with mine. They weren't even trying to hide it, laughing at some private joke, moving like they belonged together. My stomach dropped. I froze, watching as they passed by a store window, their reflection as damning as the sight itself. I felt like I was underwater, like everything had gone muffled. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure someone would hear. My first instinct was denial. Maybe I was seeing things. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. But even as I tried to convince myself, I knew better. I followed them. Not because I wanted to, God no, but because I couldn't not, like some desperate, pathetic detective in a bad movie. They left through the side entrance, heading toward the parking lot. I stayed back, keeping distance, watching. That's when I saw it. Jason opened the car door for her. My brother, always the gentleman when he wanted something. Before she got in, she turned to him, and he kissed her. Right there, in broad daylight, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I couldn't breathe. I stood there, hidden behind a pillar, watching the woman I loved and the brother I'd grown up with, like strangers who'd stolen the faces of people I knew. They drove away, leaving me standing alone, holding a shopping bag with nothing in it. That night, I sat in the dark of my living room, the house eerily quiet. The only light came from the street lamp outside, casting long shadows across the floor. I hadn't turned on the TV. I hadn't eaten. I just sat there, the scene playing over and over in my head like some cruel film reel I couldn't turn off. Jason, my little brother, the golden boy. Tall, athletic, always tan no matter the season. The kid who could do no wrong in mom and dad's eyes. The star quarterback in high school, the successful realtor now, flashing that winning smile that could sell a house in 10 minutes. I always envied how easy things seemed for him. I thought we were close, in our own way. Sure, he could be cocky, self-centered even, but he was my brother. I remembered how he stood beside me on my wedding day, grinning as I stumbled over my vows because I was so nervous. How he clapped me on the back at the reception, raising a glass to toast us. "You're a lucky man, Wade," he'd said that night. "Emily's one of a kind." Yeah, one of a kind, all right. I thought about Emily, about our first date at that little Italian place that smelled like garlic and old wood, about how she'd laughed at my terrible jokes, how her hand had felt in mine as we walked to her car. I thought about the night I proposed, nervous as hell, stumbling over the words, and how she'd cried and said yes before I even finished. And now this. I felt the anger rise hot and sharp, but beneath it was something worse, betrayal's bitter aftertaste. Not just from Emily, from Jason, from both of them. I ran a hand through my hair, leaning forward, elbows on my knees, staring at the floor as if it might offer answers. Well, Wade, I thought bitterly, congratulations. You've managed to pick the perfect pair of people to screw you over. Maybe that's my real talent, surrounding myself with traitors. The self-pity hit hard, but so did the clarity that followed. I couldn't unsee what I saw. I couldn't unknow what I knew. The perfect life I'd been clinging to, the one I thought I could fix if I just tried hard enough, was gone. And I had no idea what the hell I was supposed to do next. I don't know what was worse. The night I saw them, or the day I sat them both down in what used to be our dining room. The house felt like a stranger's. The walls that had once echoed with laughter were now silent. The table where we'd shared countless meals, where Emily and I had talked about our dreams, where Jason had toasted us at our engagement party. That same table now felt like a stage for a tragedy I never auditioned for. I called them both. No yelling, no threats. I just asked them to come over. Maybe I wanted answers. Maybe I wanted to see if they'd have the guts to look me in the eye. They arrived together. That stung more than I expected. Emily walked in first, her eyes flickering with something between guilt and defiance. Jason followed, tall and confident, as if he belonged here more than I did. We sat at the table, the three of us. I stared at the wood grain, tracing invisible lines, trying to steady my hands. "I saw you," I said quietly. No preamble, no need. Emily inhaled sharply. Jason shifted in his chair, resting one arm along the back like he was getting comfortable. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Emily finally found her voice. "We didn't want this to happen, Wade," she said, her tone soft, almost pleading. It just happened. We didn't mean to hurt you." I let out a bitter laugh before I could stop myself. "Didn't mean to hurt me? Emily, you're sleeping with my brother. What did you think would happen?" Her eyes welled up, but I couldn't tell if it was real or just another performance. Jason cleared his throat, leaning forward. "Look, Wade, I know this is hard for you to understand, but we're happy. I haven't felt like this in a long time, maybe ever. We didn't plan this. But it's real, and you should be happy for us. We deserve to be happy." I stared at him, trying to reconcile the boy I'd grown up with, the kid who shared my bunk bed, who taught me how to ride a bike, who stood next to me as I said my vows, with the man sitting in front of me now, asking me to be happy for his betrayal. "You want me to be happy?" I repeated, shaking my head. "You want my blessing, Jason? After what you did?" "I'm saying maybe you could try to understand," he said, his voice tightening. "This wasn't about hurting you. It was about us finding something real." I stood up, unable to sit there any longer. The walls felt like they were closing in, the air thick with the stench of lies. "I understand enough," I said. "I understand that the two people I trusted most decided I wasn't worth the truth. I understand that I've been living in a fantasy while you two rewrote the script behind my back." Emily wiped at her eyes, voice trembling. "Wade, please, it's not like that. We didn't plan this." "No," I cut in. "You didn't plan it. You just let it happen. Over and over." I walked to the counter, grabbed the divorce papers I'd already filled out, and set them on the table. "I'm filing these tomorrow," I said. "We're done." Emily's face crumpled, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Jason didn't say anything, just stared at the papers, then at me, his jaw tight. I didn't wait for more words. I turned, walked up the stairs, and packed a bag. A few clothes, my laptop, the essentials. I didn't want anything else from that house. When I came back down, they were still sitting there, as if frozen. "I'll send someone for the rest," I said, and with that, I left. Mark's apartment was the opposite of mine, small but warm, with books lining the shelves and photos of friends and family on every wall. The kind of place that felt lived in, loved. He opened the door, took one look at my face, and didn't ask questions. Just stepped aside and let me in. "You can stay as long as you need," he said simply, clapping me on the shoulder. That night, lying on his lumpy couch, I stared at the ceiling, the city lights flickering through the blinds. The house I'd built my life in was behind me now. And the two people I'd once thought were my forever? They were just ghosts in a place that wasn't home anymore. 3 months. That's how long it had been since I walked out of that house. The house that once felt like home but had turned into a museum of broken promises. 3 months of learning how to live in a world I didn't recognize anymore. My new place was nothing like the one Emily and I had shared. It was small, 1 bedroom, tiny kitchen, creaky floors that groaned with every step. But it was mine. No memories clung to the walls. No ghosts of late-night arguments or hollow good mornings. Just quiet. A lot of quiet. The mornings were the hardest at first. I'd wake up, instinctively reaching for the other side of the bed, only to find cold sheets and emptiness. The absence of her was loud, louder than any alarm clock, louder than the city noise outside. There were no footsteps down the hall, no clatter of coffee mugs, no soft hum of her voice as she read emails at the kitchen counter. Just silence. I threw myself into work, long hours in front of a screen, coding until my eyes blurred. Deadlines I once dreaded became my salvation, a way to fill the hours, to keep my mind too busy to wander where it wanted to go. But no matter how hard I tried, there were still moments when the weight of it all pressed down. When I'd come home late, drop my bag on the floor, and feel the hollow echo of a life that wasn't mine anymore. And then there were them. Jason and Emily didn't hide. I didn't expect them to, I guess. But seeing their new chapter unfold so publicly, that was a punch to the gut I hadn't braced for. Social media became a minefield. Their smiling faces popped up when I least expected it. a friend's tagged photo, a mutual connections feed. Jason with his arm draped around Emily, the two of them at the lake where she and I used to spend our summers. Emily laughing at something Jason whispered in her ear at a backyard barbecue. Jason beaming beside her at a charity gala, looking every bit the perfect couple. I'd scroll past quickly, tell myself it didn't matter, that they weren't my problem anymore. But late at night, when the apartment was too quiet and my defenses were down, their faces haunted me. Mark noticed, of course. He always did. One Friday night, after I bailed on plans for the third time that month, he showed up at my door with a pizza and 2 six-packs. "Enough," he said, setting everything down on my coffee table. "We're not doing this hermit act anymore." I tried to protest, but he wasn't having it. That night, over greasy slices and bad beer, we talked, really talked, for the first time in weeks. He didn't try to give advice. He didn't tell me to move on or let it go. He just listened, and that was exactly what I needed. It was Mark, too, who nudged me toward pulling myself together. "You need something to do besides work and feeling sorry for yourself," he said one afternoon as we played a disastrous game of bowling. "Come climbing with me. It'll be good for you." I laughed, picturing myself dangling helplessly from a rope, but I said yes. And surprisingly, I liked it. The physical challenge, the focus it demanded, it quieted the noise in my head in a way nothing else had. I joined a gym too, not because I wanted to look better or prove anything, but because it felt good to move, to sweat, to push myself for me. Slowly, things started to shift. The mornings got a little easier. The silence of the apartment became peaceful rather than suffocating. I began to reclaim the person I'd been before my life got tangled up in lies and betrayal, maybe even someone better. I won't pretend I stopped thinking about them entirely. I didn't. But I thought about them less, and when I did, it didn't feel like being punched in the chest anymore. It felt like looking at a photo of a place I'd visited once, long ago, somewhere I wouldn't go back to, even if I could. Mark and I fell back into our old rhythm. Bowling nights, the occasional game night at his place, hikes on weekends when we both had time. We laughed more. He teased me about my terrible aim at darts. I mocked his taste in music. For the first time in months, I started to feel like myself again. One night, as we sat at our usual pizza joint, Mark raised his beer toward me. "Look at you," he said, grinning. "You're not that sad sack I picked up off the floor a few months ago. You're back, man." I smiled, a real smile, not the forced one I'd been wearing for so long. "Feels like it," I said. And it did. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was standing on solid ground again. The wreckage of my old life was behind me, and for the first time, I wasn't looking back. It's funny, isn't it? How betrayal never seems to stop at just one round. Like it has a ripple effect, spreading out, pulling everyone down in its wake. I thought I'd seen the last of the drama when I walked away. I thought Emily and Jason could have each other, and I could finally breathe again. But life, as it turns out, had a sense of humor. It started small. A text from an old friend. "Hey man, is it true about Jason and Mark?" I stared at the screen, confused. What about Jason and Mark? I didn't reply right away. Instead, I did what I'd gotten good at. I ignored it. Or I tried to. But then came the next sign. I ran into someone we all used to know, Sam from the neighborhood softball team. We exchanged the usual awkward pleasantries, and just as he was about to leave, he gave me this look. Half amused, half sympathetic. "Guess you really dodged a bullet, huh?" he said. Jason and Mark Wilde. I went home that night turning the words over in my head. Jason and Mark. Wild. It didn't take long before the pieces fell into place. Apparently, Jason had grown closer to Mark. It had started innocently enough, or so I was told. Jason had been reaching out, wanting to patch things up with the people he'd pushed away. Mark, being Mark, didn't have it in him to slam the door in his face. They'd gone on a couple of bike rides together, grabbed coffee, talked about regrets, about the mess they'd made of things. And somewhere along the way, Jason decided he wanted more than Emily. Or maybe he just wanted what Mark seemed to have, stability, kindness, a grounding force Jason never managed to find in himself. Whatever it was, it ended the fairy tale Jason and Emily thought they were living. Emily was the first to reach out. It started with a text. "Can we talk?" I stared at it for a while, then put my phone down. That night, another message. "I'm sorry for everything." Then came the calls. Late at night. Always late at night, like regret only found her when the world was quiet and she couldn't outrun it. I didn't answer. I listened to the voicemails once, her voice soft, broken, asking for a chance to explain. And then I deleted them. I didn't need explanations. I didn't need anything from her. News spread fast in our circle. Everyone had an opinion. Some were shocked. Some pretended they'd seen it coming. I stayed quiet. I had no interest in picking apart the train wreck that was no longer mine to clean up. One night, Mark and I ended up at O'Malley's again. Our old haunt, the same worn booth in the corner. We'd just finished a climbing session, both of us still a little sweaty, a little out of breath, the good kind of tired. Mark slid a beer toward me. "To survival," he said with a grin. I clinked my bottle to his. "To survival," I echoed. We talked about everything but the obvious for a while. Work, climbing routes, the disaster that was my attempt at cooking anything more complicated than scrambled eggs. And then Mark leaned back, running a hand through his hair, a flicker of something almost embarrassed crossing his face. "Jason's been showing up a lot," he admitted. "At first I thought he just wanted to make amends, but now, I don't know, Wade. It's like he latches on, like I'm supposed to fix him." I raised an eyebrow, smirking despite myself. "Seems to be his pattern." Mark laughed, shaking his head. "You're not wrong." There was no judgment in my voice, no bitterness, just amazement at the absurdity of it all. My brother, who took my wife, now chasing after my best friend like a lost puppy. "I swear I didn't see this coming," Mark added, almost apologetically. I believed him. Mark was too honest for games, too steady to get tangled in the mess Jason kept making. If anything, he was probably trying to be kind, and ended up as the next fixation in Jason's endless search for something real. We sat there a long time that night, laughing at the insanity of it all, at how life had turned itself inside out, at how somehow I felt lighter than I had in months. Jason and Emily had burned down my world, and now they were watching their own fall apart. And me? I was finally standing clear of the fire. The message came on a rainy Thursday morning. Simple. Short. "Please, just one coffee, one conversation. I need to say this to your face." I stared at it longer than I should have. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let the words sit there, unread, unanswered, like so many before. But something in me, maybe curiosity, maybe closure, made me type back. "Okay, tomorrow, noon. Baxter's. The little cafe with the terrace where I'd proposed to her all those years ago. I didn't pick it for the symbolism. It was just a place that felt neutral now, a place where the ghosts had long since faded. The next day, I got there early. The rain had stopped, leaving the air sharp and clean. I sat outside watching the world move, people passing, lives unfolding, none of them knowing that a few feet away, I was about to face down my past. Emily arrived on time. That used to be one of the things I loved about her, how she respected time, how she'd glide into a room like she belonged there. She looked different now. Tired, like the weight of the last few months had caught up to her. Still beautiful, but smaller somehow. Quieter. "Wade," she said, sitting down, wrapping her hands around the coffee cup like it was the only solid thing she had left. I nodded. "Emily." For a moment, neither of us spoke. The sounds of clinking cups, soft laughter from inside, the hum of city life. It all filled the space between us. "I don't even know where to start," she said finally, her voice low. "I've played this conversation in my head 1,000 times, and none of it feels right." "Start anywhere," I said, surprising myself with how calm I felt, like I was watching this from the outside. She looked at me, eyes glistening. "I'm sorry, for everything. For what I did to you, for how I did it. I was selfish. I thought I was chasing happiness, but I didn't care who I hurt to get it. And in the end I hurt myself most of all." I didn't interrupt. I let her speak. It felt like the right thing, to let her get it out. "I thought Jason and I were something real," she continued. "But it wasn't. It was, I don't know, a distraction, a mistake. And I see that now. I lost the best thing I ever had. I lost you." Her voice broke at the last word, and she wiped at her eyes quickly, like she was embarrassed to be so exposed. "Emily," I said gently, "I believe you. I believe you're sorry." Her head snapped up, surprised. Maybe she expected me to yell, to throw her pain back at her. But I didn't have it in me. I didn't have anything left to give to that old hurt. "I forgive you," I said, and I meant it. Not for her, for me, to let it go, to set it down and walk away lighter. Tears streamed down her face now. "Does that mean we can—" "No," I said it softly, kindly. "No, Emily, I forgive you, but I don't want to go back. I'm not angry anymore, but I'm not yours anymore either." She nodded, swallowing hard, trying to pull herself together. I needed to say it," she whispered. "I needed you to know." "I know," I said. We sat for a few more minutes, the weight of everything finally lifting. When she left, I didn't watch her go. I stayed, finishing my coffee, watching the sky clear. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt free. Mornings used to be the hardest. Now, they're my favorite part of the day. The sun rising over the river, the cool air filling my lungs as my feet hit the path in steady rhythm. It's become my ritual, my way of reminding myself that I'm still here, still moving forward. There's something about watching the world wake up that makes everything else feel smaller, lighter. The past, the hurt, the wreckage, it's all still there, sure, but out here, it doesn't weigh me down anymore. I've gotten faster too, stronger. The miles pass easily now, the city unfolding around me as I run. I've even started planning a trip, something I'd put off for years. A hiking trek out west, maybe Montana or Utah, somewhere with wide open spaces and no ghosts. Just me, the trail, and the sky. Mark was the first to notice the change. We met up for coffee the other day at our usual spot downtown, small place, worn-in booths, the kind of joint that serves coffee strong enough to put hair on your chest. He grinned as I slid into the booth opposite him. "Look at you," he said, raising his cup. "You're back. You're really back." I laughed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "I mean the Wade I knew. The guy who could find the silver lining in anything. The guy who didn't let the world drag him under." "You're him again." I shook my head, smiling. "I think I had to lose everything before I could figure out who I really was." Mark clinked his mug against mine. "Well, here's to losing everything, then." We talked for hours. About work, about climbing, about nothing and everything. We even joked about the past, the absurdity of it all. How Jason and Emily had burned their own lives, down while I walked away clean. It felt good to laugh about it, to let it be just another story, one that no longer had the power to sting. And then, this morning, something unexpected happened. I was finishing my run, slowing to a jog as I neared the little footbridge that crossed the river. That's when I saw her. She was stretching against the railing, earbuds in, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, cheeks flushed from her own run. She glanced up as I approached, and for a second, our eyes met. She smiled. The kind of smile that was open, warm, with no agenda behind it. Just two strangers crossing paths on a good morning. "Nice pace," she said, pulling out one earbud. "Thanks," I said, catching my breath. "You too." We stood there for a beat, both of us still breathing hard, the world quiet except for the sound of the river below. "Well," she said, hitching her thumb over her shoulder, "I'd better finish before I lose momentum." "Yeah," I said, smiling back. "See you out here?" "See you," she said, and jogged off, her ponytail swinging. I watched her go, then turned toward home, my heart lighter than it had been in a long time. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself. And as I walked back, the sun rising higher, I realized I was exactly where I was meant to be.